All right, welcome to another episode of Piecing It Together, the podcast where we take a look at a new movie and try to figure out what movies inspired it. And today on the show, we are talking about the Seth Rogen star vehicle, An American Pickle, which is out now on HBO Max. I'm not sure if this was ever planned for theaters or if it was always destined to be a streaming movie, but it is available now. You can watch it, and while we didn't really love it, we definitely had a great time talking about it. Joining me for this one is Jason Harris from Awesome Movie Year. You've heard him here on the show before, and we got a great little conversation coming up with some good puzzle pieces, and he gives me a little bit of shit for maybe being a little bit lazy with my list, but we have a good time. So that's coming up here in a second, but I do want to remind you to make sure you're subscribed to Piecing It Together wherever you listen to podcasts, and you can always rate and review us over on Apple Podcasts or Podchaser. Let us know how you're enjoying the show, and follow us on Twitter at PiecingPod, Instagram at PiecingPod. We also have a Facebook group, Popcorn and Puzzle Pieces, where we continue the conversation about all the movies we talk about on the show. And check out our Patreon over at patreon.com/bydavidrosen, where I'm about to post this episode right now. So you may be hearing it before it hits the feed, or you're hearing it on the regular feed in the future. But regardless, lots of great content over there you should check out, also including some great content from Awesome Movie Year and All Rice No Beans and my music. So lots of cool stuff over on the Patreon. But with all that said, let's start talking about An American Pickle. All right, back on the show with us, we've got Jason Harris to talk about a very Jewy movie. How's it going, Jason?
L'chaim, Dave. Shalom. And let's have a nice day. We'll get a nosh. Maybe we'll kvetch a little about the things that are going on in the world. And
I plan on a lot of kvetching, let me tell you.
We'll see a little this, a little that, and we'll just do it.
So we're talking about An American Pickle, this new film starring Seth Rogen in dual roles as both his own character and then the character's grandfather, who has been frozen in time in a vat of pickles.
Dave.
Great-grandfather.
Great-grandfather. Herschel is the great-grandfather. Ben is the kid.
Yes. I've already forgotten details of this movie that I watched a week ago. I mean, I guess this is what to expect, though, with movies that are kind of just being like one after another rolled out to streaming without a lot of polish, I think. But we'll get into that.
You need content, but I will admit, Dave, I have this ranked as the most disappointing film of the year for me. Oh. I was really into the preview, and we talked about it on Piecing It Together on our trailer episode, where I know you have those pieces, but man, did they execute this horribly. They should throw this movie in a pickle brine.
I don't think I hated it as much as it sounds like you did, but I certainly didn't like it too much either.
This one is as bad as anything I've seen this year.
Wow. Well, I think luckily with the format of our show, that'll at least give us a chance to talk about some movies that we do like in the process, and maybe look at a little of what went wrong with this thing. Yeah. So we did do that trailer episode, and so we did talk about this movie a little bit before it hit HBO Max. We'll see as we get into the conversation if some of the pieces that we had mentioned do overlap with what we talked about on the trailer show, but the movies we had mentioned after watching the trailer and talking about it were Encino Man, Borat, Fiddler on the Roof, Blast from the Past, Interstellar, and Little Miss Sunshine. So with that being said, I think let's jump into what our actual puzzle pieces are. What do you have for your first one?
The first one to me was a movie, and I based it on what movie involves the most pickling, because there's a lot of pickling in this movie. And the movie I remember that involved a huge character trait of pickling was The 5-Year Engagement with Jason Segel, Emily Blunt, and I remember Brian Posehn's character, who I think worked at Zingerman's Deli, very famous deli in Michigan, was always pickling. So that's why I chose The 5-Year Engagement, because of the pickle connection.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't remember if I ever actually saw that movie. Certainly, I don't recall it being so pickle involved. Is that, I'm guessing, and I get this from the movie, and I guess maybe I knew this, but is that like a hipster thing? Is that why they maybe used that in that movie and why it's in this one?
I mean, it is, but pickles are delicious, so it shouldn't be. I mean, you
Yeah.
can, like, they do talk about all the different things you could pickle in this film, and pickling's great. So if the hipsters are the only ones doing it, then advantage hipsters. So,
For sure. Well, for my first puzzle piece, I'm going to get some Seth Rogen out of the way. I always like to try to get out of the way any pieces that are, involving previous films in a filmmaker or star's repertoire. But I think that this movie kind of continues a theme of a lot of Seth Rogen movies that I believe started with The Green Hornet, but definitely continued along with like This Is the End and Long Shot and The Night Before. And that is this thing where they're all just hyper current and they reference everything that's happening exactly in the moment of the time that this movie comes out. And in this you get the app connection, you get, like ride sharing, and you get like all that kind of stuff that is exactly what's happening in the culture at this very specific moment as the movie is coming out. And I'm interested to see how these later era Seth Rogen movies age because of that, because he does seem to always set them where they have to be exactly right now in the moment.
I think that's an interesting point. Sometimes you go back and you watch a movie from the early 2000s and you're like, look at that cell phone, and it takes you out of it, right? But
Right,
then you
right.
watch something like Clueless, and like, which is very 90s, but it's also very timeless, right? So you
Sure.
just never know. But yeah, he is hyper referential. That's true.
Yeah, it seems to be a thing, and I mean, it works at times. There's some good jokes throughout, like all of these movies. Maybe not as many in this one. I mean, it's certainly something he's been doing a bunch of, so maybe it kind of wears thin a little bit. But I don't know. It just seems to be his shtick lately. That and just look how Jewy I am.
Well, going on the Jew thing, Dave, I'm going to do my second puzzle piece, which I think you might have, just guessing. But when I think of a good movie that involves Jews and obsession with death, I think of one that you and Josh recommended on piecing it together, maybe year end best of list, which was To Dust with
Sure.
Matthew Broderick and a very good Jewish actor whose name I don't know. But
Giza Rorig.
there you go. So,
Ah.
but that, if you're looking for the themes of this movie done at a much, much higher level, that movie's awesome. So, To Dust is my second one.
That's interesting. I hadn't thought of that, and I love that movie, and I hadn't thought of that. But yeah, they definitely are dealing with some of those themes, especially the Herschel character and, what he's gone through. And I guess also the Ben character, what he's gone through with his family as well. So yeah, I guess there is a lot of that grief that they're dealing with in this movie. And it's so kind of hidden behind a little bit of a one note joke that you maybe don't even notice it the whole time.
Well, yeah, this movie does not do it well. That movie did do it well, right? So
Exactly.
that's kind of my point. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So, all right, cool. Well, I will go with my next piece. And this was one of the ones that I mentioned in the trailer show, and that is Borat, the Sacha Baron Cohen film. This obviously not even remotely as funny, and it doesn't even aim to be as funny, certainly. I mean, it's definitely trying to be a little bit more emotional. It's not as, wacky and out there and everything, but a lot of the humor does, come from a place of this fish out of water and this Eastern European kind of stereotypical played for laughs kind of a character, and just how out of place they are in today's progressive culture and that kind of stuff. And so I think even though it's not going for the same kind of laughs, the laughs are coming from a fairly similar place.
I think that is a big stretch, my friend. So it's a totally different type of movie. If I was going to reference something in the 80s, maybe Moscow on the Hudson would be a better reference point or Yakov Smirnov's entire act. But
Sure.
just the form is totally different. This is a scripted, narrative film, and Borat is balls to the wall, kind of some scripted, but some hidden prankish stuff. And
Sure.
Borat also made me laugh a lot. So that was
Yeah, that's the biggest difference, I think, between the two.
So, but I do want to say that yes, so the ones that we did mention on the trailer, like I still think like Little Miss Sunshine, something like that, is valid. But I just tried to do ones that we didn't do in the trailer episode. So
Sure. Well, what do you have for your next one?
my next one is going to be, I thought about actors playing two characters, and I think this trend really started taking off with The Social Network again, where
Sure.
in a way they're like, look, this isn't great, this isn't twins, like the Army Hammer characters, but this is or the Winklevi boys, as they like to say, but this is one actor basically playing very similar shades of two family members. So I'm going to go with The Social Network, which, again, much better movie than this.
Well, and I will say the biggest strength, I think, of this movie, if all the points it gets are for Seth Rogen really pulling off two different family members, I think, convincingly.
The problem isn't Seth Rogen. The problem is in the writing, and I'm surprised that Seth Rogen let that go.
Yeah.
So, for instance, Herschel is this like scientific anomaly who's been brined in a pickle liquid for 100 years, and then he comes back, and then it's like when they feel like acknowledging that that's a thing, they do, but when it's inconvenient to the plot. And like Herschel's entire downfall is like, oh, he says stuff that's horrible. And it's like, well, now we're not acknowledging that he's from 100 years ago. And like, there's no reason for that. It's so lazy. It pisses me off. And more than bad movies, I hate lazy movies. And this is that.
Yeah. It also kind of, leans into a kind of skewering cancel culture and all that kind of stuff, and kind of is very wishy-washy on what, side of anything. It doesn't really take any form of a side in what it's trying to say. It's not saying anything, really.
Well, and one other big problem is we're talking about right now, Seth Rogen playing those two characters. But Herschel, who's probably our main character, his entire downfall is caused by Ben, his great-grandson. So who am I supposed to like here? Am I supposed to like young Seth Rogen as he's just a huge asshole to his great-grandfather?
Shitbag.
Yeah, he's horrible. And
terrible.
It doesn't just happen once. It happens 3 consecutive times, and you're like, well, screw this guy. He sucks, so that's pretty bad, man. So those are two of the major points where this film just was like, you know what? Fuck you, American Pickle.
Right. Well, I will move on to another piece, and this one actually goes perfectly with your last piece there. And this one, I actually saw an interview with Seth Rogen where he mentioned it, so I'm cheating a little bit, but that's Adaptation, the Charlie Kaufman Spike Jonze film, which, as you know, is my favorite movie. But again, this is, an actor playing two roles, but Seth Rogen said he looked at that as kind of like a gold standard for how that has to look and how it has to work out. And again, if we're to say anything good about this movie, it's Seth Rogen, like, doing his best with it. I don't know why he didn't add any kind of polish to the script or take some time to flesh it out in any meaningful way, but he certainly did do a good job of that whole dual role thing. And, Adaptation is, again, a completely different movie, a completely different kind of a thing. But as far as talking about the dual role thing, it's, pretty clearly a standard to try to live up to.
Yeah, no, you're right. And I should have thought about that, and I should watch it again. I know, like you said, it's your favorite, but yeah, that's Nick Cage at his best in those two different roles there. So that's
for sure.
That's a good pick. And of course, one of those Nick Cage characters has hair like yours. So anytime I can reference that, I will.
Thank you.
So we're talking about movies with mismatched twins. How about the movie Twins? That was on my list there. Schwarzenegger
Nice.
and DeVito as twins. And they get into some wacky, fun adventures, and I'm sure we're not that far off from seeing a remake with like Kevin Hart and The Rock or something like that,
Sure.
yeah, hey, twins can be played by two different actors, not just the same actors. How about the same actor there? So, I would like to watch Twins again, and I remember really liking it as a kid, and I will bet a lot of money that it's better than this movie.
I want to see. I want to see Awesome Movier presents Twins with you and Josh Bell as the twins.
Oh yeah,
Can we make that happen?
so how does that work? Because I'm
I
in.
don't know. We need wigs. We need. I don't know what we need exactly, but let's make it happen.
All right, that'll go on the Patreon, I guess. So.
Well, I think that as far as the guy, waking up in a different time period genre of movies, I did mention Encino Man in the trailer episode, and this is so different, but I did have it as a puzzle piece here. I just think that is when you set out to make a movie where somebody wakes up in a different time period, that it's just a movie that you look towards. And I honestly haven't seen it in so many years. I was almost going to rewatch it for this, just to like see how it holds up. And I remember really liking it back in the day. I don't know about you, but I just felt it was worth keeping as a puzzle.
You know what? Here. You know what's as lazy as this movie is your list. You're just rehashing your trailer list, man.
There's only two of them.
You could have at least you could have Googled movies about people who wake up in the future or something like that and found something.
I did. It was difficult. I gotta tell you, this is a tough movie.
All right. Well, I did something different, Dave, which, in the trailer episode, I mentioned Little Miss Sunshine as a great example of a film with a relationship with a grandparent and a grandchild. So I went down that road again, but instead of copying my own self, Dave, I did a little more work and I chose Willy Wonka, which obviously has the great relationship between Charlie and is it Grandpa Joe? I don't know, but I think
so.
I also think we got a chocolate factory and a pickle factory, and this kind of out of place adventure or man out of place adventure. So I went with Willy Wonka, which is a lovely film. I watched it about a year ago, I think.
I was trying to think for a puzzle piece, which I don't have one here, but I was trying to think of something where at the end, like the guy's down on his luck and he goes into a church and is shown the way, but here we get the Jewish version of that. He goes into a temple and is shown the way. I couldn't think of a good example though. I know it's happened in like Dogma? A million movies. Yeah, maybe that's a good one.
Yeah, you're right. I think it has happened in a lot, so but I can't think of any right now either.
So instead of that, I'll go to my last piece, which is a movie we talked about before recording this, which is Hal Ashby's Being There, which I think is, again, the exact kind of fish out of water story that they seem to be going for here, just not quite capturing the charm of. But the idea of this character being completely out of place and saying all the wrong things, but somehow through a little bit of maybe magical realism, everybody just kind of is getting their own more positive spin on the things that he's saying and accepting them in a really gracious way, which adds to some great comedy and is a great setup for some interesting things to happen, which certainly do in Being There and don't so much here.
Yeah, that was a big comparison that we were talking about beforehand, and I think in a lot of reviews. And I kind of think, and I'm not saying you as a puzzle piece, I get it as a puzzle piece, but I kind of think in reviews to compare it is like lazy because Being There is so great and this is so not great. And also the finesse that Being There does it with it's perfect, right? Like it's
right.
Hal Ashby in the 70s, Peter Sellers in the 70s, Shirley MacLaine in the 70s. Man, home runs right there. So and Jerzy Kosinski, who wrote that script. But yeah, this I know people just keep doing it. I think it makes sense as a puzzle piece, but as a direct comparison, I don't think you would make that comparison, right?
Right. No, certainly not as a comparison, as an inspiration though. I think so. I think that they were going for it. And again, I think part of the problem is I think Being There knows what side of any issues this character is
Yeah.
on, despite him not really seeming to know himself what side he's on. Whereas this movie doesn't is really just strictly going for kind of cheap laughs when it comes to people misunderstanding this character's blatant, either sexism or racism or homophobia or whatever, whatever the jokes are coming from. There's these light versions of all of those terrible things just because he's from a different
Well,
time.
yeah, and I think you make a good point there is like when they want to hit you over the head with it, they do, and when they want to forget it, they do. But Being There is they take Chance seriously. Everything he says, as he moves up in the
Right.
world, they take him very seriously and at face value, and it just leads to so much great comedy. So, do you know Raphael? I
That was
have a
so funny.
message for him. There were just a lot of great laughs in Being There. So
Yeah, really good movie. If nothing else, this movie led us to Being There, to rewatching
yeah,
that.
which is
So
I had actually never seen it, was on my list forever, but I'm a huge Peter Sellers fan. How can you not be like one of the all time great comedic performers? And he's
sure.
just what a characterization he came up with for that one.
Yeah, really makes me want to go back and watch more of his stuff because it's been a long, 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 long time since I've seen anything with him in it, really.
Yeah, I think that would be the best thing you could take away from this movie is to go watch Peter Sellers movies.
For sure. Well, do you have any other pieces?
No, the only other thing I could be is like if I looked up, oh, what are the most disappointing movies I've seen? So
All right. Well, in that case, I'll do the finished puzzle here. That includes the 5-year engagement, all these hyper of the moment Seth Rogen movies, To Dust, Borat, The Social Network, Adaptation, Twins, Encino Man, Willy Wonka, and Being There. So, of course, I cheated my way through half my list. I'm sorry. I'll do better, guys.
I'm gonna hold you to that on the next episode. We'll do another trailer episode coming up, and then we'll cover one of those. And yeah, you better bring it next time, buddy.
Do you have any other closing thoughts about this movie, other than some of the things that we've said so far about how disappointed we are in it?
I like that streaming offers films that take chances, and I think we're seeing more of that. And this was a chance to take, but I just don't know how it got through, other than if like Seth Rogen pushed it. Like there's just so many mistakes on this, and it's Simon Rich, who is a well-known writer. So I just don't know, and it's based on his own story, if I'm not mistaken. So
I think so, yeah.
yeah, there's way better stuff that's been made for streaming, and this hey man, just like back in the day when you used to go see movies in the theaters, they're not all going to be hits, baby.
They can't all be great, but yeah, HBO Max not exactly having a good average so far. This and Greyhound, although the
No,
documentary Boy
Greyhound's
State that
on
just came out.
Apple TV, and so is Boys
Oh, is
Town.
it?
Yeah, so
Oh, so is this the first then? Is this the first
I
episode?
don't know, but what's great on HBO Max is the Elmo Not Too Late show, which I watch with my daughter. Really funny, fun talk show. Yeah.
HBO Max needs some more stuff then. They don't have anything.
Yeah, no, they have plenty of stuff. They have a bunch of hubs. They have like the AMC hub. They have the TMC
Yeah, but
hub.
I mean new stuff though. I mean
New stuff. I mean, they have all the
exclusive new
HBO stuff. What are you talking about? Like everything that's
Wait.
going to be streaming is going. They got plenty of stuff. Cartoon Network. They have the studio Ghibli, which I can never pronounce, with all the animes, and stop hating on HBO Max.
I love HBO.
They're just, this was the rollout. So, but yeah, this was a bad movie. But hey, if this was on any streaming platform, it would still be a bad movie, Dave.
That's right. And no matter which one it landed on, that's what would have happened. Well, is there another movie you watched recently that you did like that you'd maybe want to recommend to our listeners?
Yeah, I will recommend 2 movies that are streaming, that you have to rent. but are both great. Both of my top 10. Actually, I could do 3 at this point.
Mm.
So Driveways, which I know you and Josh talked about on the Midway. That's really good. One of Brian Dennehy's last movies, if not his last. And the lead actress is awesome. She's in Watchmen also, and she's great.
Oh,
She's
okay.
a star to watch.
Yeah, I want to see that. It sounds really good.
First Cow, that's a favorite of a lot of people right now. And
Mm-hmm.
Never, Rarely, Sometimes, Always, which is a very tough movie about a suburban teenager in Pennsylvania who has to travel to New York for an abortion. A very tough watch, but maybe that one so far, all 3 are probably on my top 10. I would say probably 2 of them will stay there for the rest of the year. So
Nice. Well, good picks. And why don't you tell some people about Awesome Movie Year? What's going on over there?
Awesome Movie Year is in a very cool season right now. We're in 1977, and what we are learning as we watch more films of 1977 is just how strange storytelling was back then and how unique and how individual it was. So many really cool, odd movies of that time, right? So we're doing 77, then we'll kind of go forward and then go back again, different years. We are all over the social media, awesomemovieyear.com, Awesome Movie Year on Facebook and Instagram, Awesome Movie Pod on Twitter. I'm Jason Harris Comedy on Facebook and Instagram, J Harris Comedy on Twitter. Go for Jason on the web and on Letterboxd. But yeah, I'm really proud of Awesome Movie Year, and you do a good. All right, very good job producing it.
Well, thank you, Jason, for that wonderful compliment. And thanks as always for being here. And I'm looking forward to doing another trailer episode with you in a couple of weeks from now. I already got the movies picked out, so I'll be sending you that list.
Well, that's exciting, and we should say we've watched 2 of the movies from our last trailer episode. You might have watched more, right?
Yeah, I just watched Project Power yesterday.
And you watched Tax Collector, right?
Yeah, Tax Collector. We just did an episode on, which is an absolutely terrible movie.
Yeah, so that's we did 6 trailers?
Yes.
And 4. You've seen 4, and they've all been very bad.
Yeah, this hasn't been the best month.
Yeah. Yeah.
Still an awesome movie year, but not an awesome movie month.
And I should say the one I used to go here, not very bad, but just not good.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, exactly. It's just a very average movie, but it was enjoyable though. Definitely enjoyable. Not worth an episode, but an enjoyable movie if you want to kind of, I don't know, maybe not.
There was some laziness in that script too.
Yeah.
Yorma Takomi in both of those movies, and I don't know the worth of either of his characters, and he's kind of, especially in I Used to Go Here. I'm like, what is happening with your character in this one?
Well, let's keep high hopes for Tesla, and we'll see what comes up next. Well, thanks, Jason, for being here as always, and I will talk to you soon.
Cool, Dave. Have a good one, buddy.
You've heard others, but nothing could prepare you for the shameful stupidity that is the Jock and Nerd Podcast. Hear Imran,
So if you offend everyone at once, it's a wash. I've covered everybody.
Anthony,
Sorry, I was texting. Say that again.
and Rug Boy
Yeah, whenever there's a snowstorm, my slack hole tightens up.
as they talk over one another.
Just exactly
John
the same
Connor
as,
was the
as
fucking Terminator.
We're talking over each other. It's fine.
Sorry.
Swear
I had boobies.
and ask you for money.
Just give us the money.
The Jock and Nerd Podcast.
It's campy, silly, goofy fun. Jock and Nerd.
All right, so I hope you enjoyed that conversation about An American Pickle. By the way, if I'm talking really quiet, it's because it's like really early in the morning right now, and I'm trying to squeeze in recording some intros and outros for these episodes because I got a whole bunch of guest appearances lined up like every night this week. And you know what? If you want me to join you on your podcast, get in touch. I love guesting on other people's podcasts. If you want to be on Piecing It Together, get in touch. I love having new people on this podcast. And also check out piecingpod.com, our website. Go to the link section, and I always keep a running list of all of the other podcasts I have guested on, so that way you can check me out talking about movies on other shows or music or whatever it is I'm talking about on these shows, and check out some great shows in the process. I always try to include an ad here at the ends, like just now. That That was The Jock and the Nerd, which Imran was just on piecing it together just recently. So it's great to be able to cross-promote with those guys. And I love doing these podcasts, and I love being part of this community. And it's really early, and I can't believe I'm up so early. But you know what? I got to fit in all the stuff I can fit in because I tend to make myself very busy. Well, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you do enjoy piecing it together, I would love it if you went to either Podchaser or Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to podcasts and click that subscribe button, and then maybe rate us and review us. We love getting your reviews. We love hearing what you think of the show. You can follow us over on social media at Piecing Pod. Join our Facebook group, Popcorn and Puzzle Pieces. Check out our Patreon, which is /byDavidRosen, which has a whole bunch of great content from myself as a music composer, as well as stuff from Piecing It Together, Awesome Movie Year, and All Rice No Beans. And I got a lot of great stuff that is coming up in September around my music career. A really cool retrospective feature that's hitting the Patreon exclusively, and I'm really excited to share it with you guys. That is coming really soon. So aside from that, I also want to give a quick plug to my website, bydavidrosen.com, which is the site for all things related to my music career. I recently redesigned it, and it's got a whole bunch of new information, samples of my music, links to pretty much everything I have done at this point, and I'm constantly continuing to add to it as well. So definitely check out bydavidrosen.com. Lots of new stuff coming soon. I got a new album coming in October. I got new music videos coming. So lots of stuff on the way there. And speaking of my music, as always, I'm going to leave you guys with a piece of it. And I don't play this stuff too often, but for a movie like An American Pickle, I think it is called for. I am going to play a piece of music from my old Jewish comedy rap group, Fakakta. Fakakta has kind of gone on hiatus these last few years. I doubt it's ever coming back, but that being said, there's some pretty good stuff to play, and so I'm going to play a piece from our second album, You Took Us for Granted. And let's see, which track should I play from You Took Us for Granted? I think I'm going to play Breathe, the Tu B'Shvat song. This one is absolutely ridiculous. There may be some off-color humor in it, which Fakakta maybe has been known for throughout its career. So, please don't be offended. And if you do enjoy Fakakta's Breathe, the Tu B'Shvat song, you could check out You Took Us for Granted over on iTunes and Spotify and all those other places. And our other album, Lock Stars. So this is Breathe, the Tu B'Shvat song. And thanks for listening to Piecing It Together.
The nose, out through the mouth. Welcome, my friends. Welcome to the Festival of Trees, a big celebration where everybody breathes. In Hebrew, they call it Tu B'Shvat.
I don't know what that means, but I love them greens and I love them trees.
They give us CO2, and I like breathing. I don't know about you. I'd marry a tree, baby, if I could, because you know what MC Ethel likes to do with wood.
I got a pretty good idea what she does with that wood, but that's her own business. Me, I'm over here in the breeze, getting high off the tree, smoking all that weed. You know I'm a fiend, but to get my nose clean, I use my favorite drug. It's antihistamine.
Breathe, baby, breathe.
In and out, in and out.
Breathe, baby, breathe.
In and out, in and out.
Breathe, baby, breathe. Way back in Sunday school, I bought a tree in Israel when I was 5. Sometimes I often wonder if the tree is still alive. They made me buy the tree, I didn't want to buy it, but I was only 5, so they convinced me I should try it. I've never seen the tree, I've never been there. I've never been to Israel, I don't really care. But I'm so glad the tree is making air for all the boys and girls checking. Breathe, baby, breathe.
finest of the hip-hop nation. I'm a bad motherfucker with sinus information. I be living in the trees like a monkey but hairier. The illest motherfucking rapper in the whole area. And by illest, I mean sickest. Not sickest like the baddest, but like I really need a sip of NyQuil and a Claritin. But I'm also the illest. If by illest, you mean bestest. You could hear my rhymes in a breeze from the east to the west. It's Jewish Dave, and I'm always prepared, hun. I got 99 issues, but a tissue ain't one.
You know I love them trees, except when they make me sneeze. Goddamn allergies, come to think of it, get me away from these trees. I'll take Allegra, a Zyrtec, a Claritin D, and then maybe I can breathe, baby, breathe.
In and out, in and out.
Breathe, baby, breathe.
In and out, in and out.
Breathe, baby, hug a tree, love it good. Don't you agree it's the best kind of wood? Hug a tree, lick up the sap. You know empty apple knows a lot about that. Jewish spots when the summer's hot. Trees make you cool. You can buy one in Sunday school. Jewish spots when the summer's hot. Trees make you cool. You can buy one in Sunday school. Hey, hey.
An All Points West production, produced by David Rosen in Las Vegas.